I'll be reviewing part 1 of an overlaying story arc called the Dalek War. And this consists of 2 stories, Frontier Space and Planet of the Daleks. You can watch them all different separately, but the ending of Frontier in Space leads into Planet of the Daleks, and I'll explain later, but they both form an overall story arc that everybody has called the Dalek War. Alright. So, the first part, Frontier in Space. And the story for Frontier in Space is... It's the year 2450, and a fragile peace exists between the great empires of Earth and Draconia. The TARDIS materializes aboard an Earth cargo ship which comes under attack. Arrested and accused of espionage, the Doctor is sentenced to life imprisonment on the Moon. But salvation arrives in an unexpected form. Can the Doctor and Jo stop the Master's plans to provoke a galactic war and reveal the deadly enemy waiting for the chance to destroy both empires? Another political thriller by writer Malcolm Hulke, we get a familiar story about 2 nations or planets at the brink of war with a third party pulling the strings. This by now is cliché, but then it was something different, and is a good story and quite enjoyable. The story also mirrored what was going on with the world, because at the time, as we know for history, there was riots in the streets of America against the war, the Cold War almost becoming a full-blown war, the women's lib movement, and nations like America and Russia trying to maintain peace. All these can be seen in this story, and makes people of the time, as well as people familiar with that time period, have a sense of familiarity with what is going on, and get them emotionally involved with the story. The costumes and makeup for this story are silly, but some are great and look beautiful. The only silly costumes are the costumes that have these donut rings on the wrists and ankles. They look so ridiculous and stupid that you laugh at it and lose the believability of these costumes being uniforms. The other costumes look more elegant and believable. However, some have a little silliness to them, for 2 characters have these extended collars around their necks that extend almost to their ears. So they almost lost their believability that way, but they get away with it because of the actors and how the costume complements their character. The costumes and makeup for the race of beings known as the Draconians are actually, believe it or not, really good. I was amazed by how elegant the costumes looked with the pointed shoulder pads, the almost reptilian look, or dragon look, if you will, that it has with a noticeable hint of military in it. And the makeup on these actors that the actors had applied to them looked actually really amazing. Even though you could tell it is a mask or an arm and hands appliances put on them, the look of it, with the scales and the bumps and the long flat forehead and the fin on the top of the head, that you forget it is fake and just go with it. It is just amazing work. Equally amazing is the visual effects, involving model spaceships flying through space. Yes, it is primitive compared to what can be done with model ships in post-Star Wars, but it is still pretty good. I wouldn't go so far as to say believable, but still pretty good. Getting the flow of the ship flying and docking it was very good. This story is known for the final performance of Roger Delgado as the Master. His final performance is what you would expect from him. Perfection. As always, he played it beautifully. He doesn't regenerate, but runs after what can be interpreted as accidentally shooting the Doctor. Roger wanted to leave Doctor Who. He said he was being offered less roles because people were thinking he was a prime part of Doctor Who. He was a permanent part of Doctor Who. So they planned on ending Series 11 with the Master dying, and it would be ambiguous as to whether or not it was to save the Doctor or not. But this never happened. While in Turkey filming a movie, Roger died in a car accident. Another shame. Roger's Master is a great way to start off this character. A very old-school villain who enjoyed the chaos he created. A Moriarty to the Third Doctor's Sherlock. I liked the look of this Master and the way he behaved. He was a very classical villain and just looked evil and sinister. I give this story 4 stars out of 5. At the end of this story, the Daleks show up. They are the real masterminds behind the whole affair. But they are only seen for 5 minutes. probably the least amount of the time the Daleks have ever been seen in Doctor Who. And for the first time, you get to see a golden Dalek Supreme. Before, the Supremes were probably just black, but due to color, now they are gold. The Daleks leave to prepare the Dalek army. This prompts the Doctor to follow them in the TARDIS, which leads to the next story, Planet of the Daleks. Which is why, like I said earlier, both stories, however separate stories in their own right, form this story arc, the Dalek War. And on the next review, I'll review part 2 of that story arc, Planet of the Daleks. And I'll see you then.